Another Uprising game. This time we're playing with Bloodlines. Let's see how this turns out. We're playing Kota Odax of X. Her ability is interesting because we get to look at the bottom 3 tech tiles and pick one of our choosing. And we can acquire it for 1 less. We're playing against Leah Kynes, Esmar Tuik, and Mother Mahayam. Leah Kynes has no ability to summon worms. Esmar Tuik allows us to make, or not allows us, but has a space called Tuik's Siege, where it's a new harvest space, and Mother Mahayam has the ability to play any card to a spy access, making cards like Rebel Supplier and Strike Fleet even more powerful, because she has the ability to gain spies really quickly with her ring. We look at the bottom 3 cards, and there's Advanced Data Analysis, Chome Transports, and Forbidden Weapons. Of those 3, I think the obvious choice here is Advanced Data Analysis because it allows us to acquire it, but when we acquire it, we must trash a spy from the board, meaning we will only be playing the game with 2 spies. Some typical second position behavior with going Desert Tactics round 1 and looking to get worms by round 2, or siege access by round 2. We end up trashing a Recon because we're probably going to be picking up either Prepare the Way or the new Bene Gesserit card, which I'll be showing later. Since we're looking to pick up our tech tile as early as possible, collecting spice is pretty good. Especially next turn, we'll probably be getting a spice off our Signa ring, allowing to actually purchase the tech. Here are some of the new cards from Bloodlines. Anytime you see a command on reveal or command on a card, it means that each time you reveal for 6 persuasion, you get that effect. You can see this effect a lot in the new Bloodlines cards and in some of the tech tiles as well. Since this version is not scripted, we have to manually increase spice on Tuik's Siege with a new clicker. Cheesable decides to buy Bene Gesserit Operative, a very good card, especially with Mother Mahayam. We have 4 persuasion to buy. We pick up Urgent Shiga Wire. That's our first card. And behind it is Maker Keeper. So we pick up both of them. Maker Keeper is a Bene Gesserit card, and the other Bene Gesserit card allows me to go to Espionage, and the next card I play, if it's a Bene Gesserit card, it has all agent accesses. Coupling that with Maker Keeper makes it a very strong combination because I can get a water and a spice if I hit 2 on Benny and Fremen. Mongoose reveals and decides to buy a Dangerous Rhetoric. Interesting card. It's not one of the new Bloodlines cards. And Heretic picks up Intelligence Training and Space-Time Folding together. Intelligence Training allows him to get a spy, and Space-Time Folding just allows him to cycle through his deck more. We go to Fremkit to have access to Siege Tabra. We also have 2 spice, meaning that we could go to a green space and pick up a tech tile. In Uprising, anytime you visit a green space, you have the ability to buy a tech tile. If you have High Council, that tech tile is discounted by 1. If you are Kota Odax, the tech tile that you put aside is discounted by another 1. Liet indicates that she wants to go Deep Desert with Sandworms. However, you can see from her ability that anytime that she wants to deploy a Sandworm, instead she gets to trash, get 2 spice, and an Intrigue, which could be powerful. However, you do lose out on combat strength, and you hopefully recover that combat strength with your Intrigue. We go to Gather Support, and actually we could buy a commander, and we decide to buy our tech tile, flip it up, Advanced Data Analysis. Every time we flip the tech tile, once during the round, we get an Intrigue, which is pretty powerful. However, I failed to realize that with this tech, you must actually have placed the spy on the board before you trash it. So I had to redo my play. So instead of going Gather Support, go to Siege Tabra and get my hooks online. We also put all 3 troops in here because we have 2 daggers behind, and nobody's really going to be looking to fight us in this combat. And if they do, it's fine as well. We get a spice, a troop, and an intrigue back. With the ability to deploy worms, we get the combat strength back pretty quickly. Heretic does decide to fight us in this combat, but we'll see how that one turns out. We decide to simply buy a Prepare the Way, because we want to get as many Bene Gesserits as possible. And it has 2 Persuasion on reveal. Yellow decides to pick up Fedaikin Still Tent, reveals a water, which is pretty nice for Leokines. And Asmar only has 1 sword, so we are currently winning in this combat. He picks up Sardukar Standard, the 1 card that allows you to get the 7th Sardukar Commander. Cheesable picks up Rebel Supplier and Wheels Within Wheels, more spy cards for the Spy Mother. Some interesting cards in this row, but anyways, combat and Heretic. We pass first of all. It goes to Heretic, and Heretic decides to pass. Okay, so we win this combat. Interesting, he decided to put in 3 troops. Leah goes to gather support, picks up with Dangerous Rhetoric. Let's see where her bump goes. She picks up Plasteel Blades, allowing her to get 4 Solari, and every time she recruits, or anytime that she recruits a Sardukar commander, she may buy additional skill. She decides not to buy a Sardukar commander. We have an interesting choice here. Either we could try to deploy worms, or we could just play our Maker Keeper to another faction space and basically get 2 faction bumps this round. First of all, we go to Espionage because we obviously need to get our spy on lawn, so that we can get the tech tile to eventually trash that spot. Cheesable does clarify that unfortunately I do not get the draw instantly, but on the next Bene Gesserit card instead. That was a possible misconception that people could have, and I decided to put the card that I drew right back into the deck, and I shuffle. Since Liet still has an action behind us, I think it's best just to go to Dutiful Service and pick up the Erikin contract. Yeah, so we basically get 2 bumps this round, and we get to set up our future combats, because with the Erikin contract, we get a troop and a spy. And don't forget that we also get the ability off of Maker Keeper. We get the draw from the Urgent Shiga Wire, and we get a water and a spice. Blue reveals and plays Manipulate to buy Corrupt Bureaucrat. This is a new Bloodlines card, a Spacing Guild card, very contract heavy, this expansion. Cheeseball reveals and buys Public Spectacle. What a top deck. And we actually don't have a terrible cards here. We have Litany Against Fear, allowing us to basically wait out until our opponents play, because all we do is draw a card and pass our turn. It's like Bindu Suspension from Ix and Imo. And we do have a little bit more Persuasion if we want to buy something else. We pick up Shrewd Trance, another Bene Gesserit. We're going fully committing to this Bene Gesserit strategy. Yellow picks up Delivery Logistics for his first Uprising Bloodlines card, actually. Interesting card. Combat resolves. Blue gets his bomb. Cheese takes a spice. And we're on. First action, we simply just play the card and draw another card and wait to see what everybody else does. Because keep in mind, the wall is currently down. Well, not down, but worms are allowed. So with this, we can actually go into worms and just wait out until what everybody else does and just see if we need to deploy or not. We have to go to gather support here because we want to pick up our tech tile. This time we do have a spy online. And now this is an interesting question because we could either pick it up with water and go to deep desert with worms, or we could risk it and just hope that nobody goes to Haga Basin and hope and pray that we get there. The other play is we could actually not go with water and pick up a Sardukar commander. In Bloodlines, now, anytime you go to a green space, and as long as there is a Sardukar commander left, you can buy that Sardukar commander or recruit it for 2 Solari, and it goes straight into your garrison. Once you recruit it, you can deploy it to the combat. After combat resolves, it comes back to your garrison. However, you can recruit it for 2 more Solari. Each time that you buy the initial Sardukar commander, you get to buy one of the Sardukar skills up top, which are only online if you have a Sardukar commander deployed in the conflict. But anyways, we decide to simply just get our water, get our tech, we get advanced data analysis. Who saw that coming? We get our intrigue. Ooh, that's a good intrigue. And we pass. Here is the first Sardukar commander. He picks up the one at Deliver Supplies and buys Charismatic with it, meaning that each time that Sardukar commander is in the conflict, on his real turn he gets 1 extra persuasion. Yellow also decides to buy a Sardukar commander in hindsight. Since it's a casual game, it does not matter. We allow him to also trash his tactile and gain another additional skill. This time he buys Driven. So now for each commander he puts in, he gets 2 skills. He gets a Spice and he gets a Persuasion. Cheesable with Price is no object. Since Cheese is playing open hand, meaning he has no intrigues, we know he's only going to be having 8 strength, meaning we can beat him in this combat without even having to go deep desert. And we're lucky that nobody decided to block us on it either. Blue reveals and buys undercover assets along with the Prepare the Way. We reveal and nothing to buy here with 3 persuasion. Yellow reveals and buys Quash Rebellion, allowing him to get 2 Solari. That 2 Solari is very important because he has a Sardukar commander, meaning he's allowed to basically recruit for free. Some new cards on the row. Combat, and luckily everybody passes, and we take first. First action, we decide to flip Advanced Data Analysis and get another intrigue. Since we have 2 on Emperor, it does allow us access to Imperial Privilege. But first of all, we're gonna simply start with a espionage play to get some spies down, or at least draw cards, and possibly hit a Spice Slow this turn. Here's some of the new Bloodlines contracts, immediate, allowing you to trash an intrigue to get an intrigue and a card. We go to Imperial Privilege, pick up 2 cards, and we get Litany against Fear, and we get a convincing argument. Both of them having 2 persuasion each, meaning we're probably going to be seeing a Spice Slow this turn. We pick up Gene Locked Vault, allowing us to hold 5 intrigues, or well, at least 4 intrigues, and not get stolen from. And we are gonna take good use of that. Wow, a beautiful endgame intrigue that we're most likely going to be completing, because the next tech on the row is a 1-coster. Mongoose buys the Sardukar commander off of Sardukar, and he decides to pick up the Loyal skill, allowing him 2 swords if he has 3 influence on the Emperor, which he does. Whoops, we forgot that it has not been coded into secrets that if you have the tech tile, you cannot get stolen from when you're holding 4 intrigues. So I kindly asked Heretic to return the intrigue that he stole from me, because it was a very good intrigue. The Maker Keeper does have green access because of Urgent Shiga Wire. We buy the tech that costs us 1, but we passed our turn and we forgot to draw off of Urgent Shiga Wire. But we do get the spice in the water, which we already spent on buying that tech. We hit 9 persuasion and we buy a Spice Slow, because the Bloodlines cards have not been scripted yet. You have to manually reveal them, and you have to manually place them back into your discard. Mongoose reveals and simply buys a Prepare the Way. Blue reveals and gets a troop for sardukar standard, and decides to buy Prepare the Way. Okay, now we're into combat. Since we're not in it, it's usually irrelevant for us, and the combat is a walled combat. But we do see some intrigues being played. I forgot to manually place my cards into my discard, and we knew we had a 4-card deck, so we draw our 5th card only. Urgent Shigawire. We've seen this card like 3 or 4 times already this game. We go to Secrets, pick up 2 Intrigues, and get the Alliance. However, the problem is we can get stolen from now, but nobody has a spy there, so we should be fine for now. Esmar plays Space-Time Folding, allowing him to discard a card, and if it was a Space Single card, which in this case it was, he draws 2 cards, allowing him to see more cards for a Spice and Slow, or just to get more access to other places. We will just get our Swordmaster with the Solari that we got from the Intrigue, and we are gonna flip Advanced Data Analysis for another Intrigue, and that should basically conclude the turn. Yellow decides to go Council, allowing him the opportunity to buy a Sardukar commander. And he does pick it up and gets Fierce with it. Nobody's really going to be putting worms in, so that is just an extra sword. He decides to pick up Servo Receivers, allowing his ring to have faction access. Since this is a makeshift mod, there are still some errors and some bugs and glitches that happen here and there, such as losing a tech tile. But it's okay, they're easily fixed, especially with this kind of scenario. We have not deployed into combat yet, but this combat does match for us, and we might think about deploying. It depends on what Esmar and Mother Mahayam decide to do. There's also a chance that Leah goes into this combat, but I doubt it. Anyways, Esmar decides to play by access, allowing him to get 2 bumps on 2 different faction accesses, on 2 different factions. Ugh. Unfortunate for us, Cheesable decides to take our alliance, our Bene Gesserit alliance, and along with it, he takes our endgame intrigue point, which stated that if you have 3 or more tactiles, you get an endgame point. So that turn was a 2-point loss for us. We are simply gonna play Litany and wait and see what everybody else does, just so that we know exactly how much to deploy in this combat, if we need to deploy at all. This is perfect because we can go Irrigate, complete our contract, get another troop and another spy. And if Blue decides to commit to this combat, he would need a lot to beat us. We also now reveal a Spice Must Flow on reveal, so that gives us another spice, meaning that we can actually activate our intrigue card, which is 1 spice for a troop, and that troop is deployable. We can hold that for reveal in the case that Blue decides to commit into this combat. But anyways, Yellow picks up a Spice and Slow, and Blue goes Desert Tactics, trashes out a dagger, and does commit everything. Okay, he has two swords from his Sardukar Commander ability, which is if he has gone to a green space, he gets 2 swords. Yep, there's the dagger trash. Okay, this combat is definitely gonna be close, and it's gonna come down to intrigues. Cheesable reveals 7 and picks up Imperial Throne Ship, allowing him to get a Emperor bump on buy, and also has very good access, reveal, and a agent box. It's a very good card overall. Since Blue decided to over-deploy into this combat, we do have to make sure that we can beat him in this combat, because we do get a spy back and we get we get a match, which is another point for us. Blue reveals and picks up pointing the way. This has one of those command icons, except it's very good because it's command for a bump. Anytime he has 6 persuasion and he reveals that card, he gets a wild influence bump. Combat happens. Heretic decides to play 3 swords and is currently beating us by 1 sword. We play our intrigue, or well, we wait for Cheesable to play his. Okay, Cheese retreats a troop, the endgame that we originally had. He buys Spencer Suits, a tactile that allows him to deploy into combat anytime he gets an intrigue. We play Return of the Favor. We have 2 influence on Bene Gesserit, Fremen, and on Ember, allowing us to get +3 plus the original 1, meaning 4 swords. Heretic decides to retreat for another influence bump. This is good for us because we get the bump and we had no intention of going into the next combat, especially with yellow's big garrison. We currently have a path to 10, however it does involve a lot to go right for us. We would have to get the Benny Alliance back from Cheesable with probably shifting allegiances, and get the Spacing Alliance, a Spacing Friendship, and also hit a Spice Slug. However, there is a different option. We could also pick up that tech, Sardukar, I forgot the name, but we could pick up that tech that gives us a point and just get our spacing bump with presumably shifting allegiances or change allegiances. However, that's a total of 10 spice, and there's currently 3 spice on Haga Basin and 1 spice on our ring. And we'd also have to hit spice and slow. That's our path to hitting 10. Research station is probably going to be in high demand looking at everybody's water, so that is probably our first priority, and we do have the ability to hit a special slow based on this hand. Wow, our intrigue top deck is phenomenal. We get, for 1 Solar, we can get a bump on spacing. So that means with change allegiances, all we would have to do is just bump down in Bene Gesserit, allowing us to get the spacing friendship. But the question is, where do we get that 1 Solar from? There is a chance that one of these guys decides to go to Spice Refinery. And since we won the last combat, which was Spice Refinery, meaning we have a flag there, Spice Refinery, when somebody else goes there, allows us to get 1 Solari, allowing the trigger on the Imperial Politics intrigue. And the other path would be just simply to acquire the tech, that 7 costume. There is the spice refinery from Cheesable, allowing us. He probably wants a spice for price is the object. So there's the Imperium Politics trigger, meaning all we have to do is be able to get Assembly Hall and be able to get Haga Basin. And we do have a path to 10. Assuming we also hit our Spice and Slow. I've just realized that within our deck, which is 6 cards right now, 3 of them have 0 persuasion, which are Dagger, Dagger, and Spice of Slow. And the other 3 have 1 persuasion, or Maker Keeper, which is 2 persuasion. So it's a 50% chance if we hit the Spice of Slow or not. But here, Cheesable decides to play his price no object to Emperor, most likely going to be taking the Emperor Alliance some way or another, or he has Shadow Alliance. But there he is. He buys a Spice of Slow. I go Assembly Hall, and we do hit the Spicy Slow, meaning we can end the game. However, I skipped my turn, or ended my turn, without acquiring the card, or acquiring the tech, which I could use to end the game. And when I ask, it's if I can go back and acquire, I am kindly denied. Cheesable's argument is valid, and because of that, I do have to return the tactile, because there's no way that he would have known that I was going to be ending the game. But yeah, Yellow acquires a Spice of Slow, and assuming they win this combat, will be ending the game on 10 minimum. And my mistake might probably be costing me the game. if yellow has no endgame intrigues, I would feel very bad because that misplay would have definitely cost me the game. Okay, thank God. Yellow does have secure spice trait, giving him 2 more spice and an endgame point, so he would have ended up on 11 regardless. From this game, I have learned that I actually enjoy Uprising with Bloodlines a lot, especially because of the fact that worms are not that important. 3 of the 4 people at the table did not have worms, or at least not even have hooks for that matter, or deploy a worm. Leah Kynes had no ability to even deploy a worm, and she was the one that ended up winning the game. And it was really interesting to see like the fact that sardukar commanders can have such an impact on the game, especially because they combat worms so well. You get two swords off of the ability from sending an agent to a green space. Sometimes you get extra resources or extra persuasion. One of the other biggest things that I realized is within Uprising, with Bloodlines at least, the command function with 6 persuasion or more revealing for that is so key because there's so many board states or tech tiles or cards that have an ability that is attached to 6 persuasion, meaning that High Council becomes a lot more valuable. And from here we can also see that in general Swordmaster is not one of those things that people really rush for anymore. People are going for high counts, people are going for high persuasion builds, people are going for things that give them more resources, give them ability to build spice and slows. The one thing that normal Uprising lacked is the fact that it had no real intention of giving favor to those who are building a spice and slow deck. And normal Uprising, everybody was rushing for worms, but with Bloodlines, it's like you feel more compelled to fight for Sardukar commanders because once they're gone, nobody can have them. But yeah, that's my game with Bloodlines.